Okay, everyone, welcome to a new week's lecture. In this week, we're going to be discussing the 3D space in After Effects. Up to now, we've been using mainly 2D space, which is going in the X and Y axis, which, in other words, is going up and down, left and right. 3D space refers to using the Z axis. We live in the 3D world, so the Z axis is the forward and back. And in our world is what a 3D space is. We can go in any direction, up and down, left and right, forward and back, and anywhere in between. And that's what we understand. When we apply that to something in After Effects or to like a motion graphic piece, it makes it more interesting. It makes it more it gives it more of a pop, and so it allows the viewer to feel that something's going to come towards them, or they're involved in that, or they're seeing something in the distance rather than just a flat image on the screen. So using a 3D space animation or some kind of video in your motion graphics can make it more interesting for your client, for your viewer, for whomever. Now the 3D space is you're able to do it here in After Effects with no problem. And like I said before in other videos, After Effects is a very complex but very useful and powerful tool. But there are other tools that are best suited for doing something like a 3D space animation. Something like Maya or Cinema 4D, 3D Studio Max, those are what they're made for, and After Effects is really made for post production work. But that being said, you can still do it in here and you can get really good results. You can also just spend all your time in After Effects and really get to know the software to do a lot of different things. So you don't have to worry about jumping onto another software and having to learn that one in order to get a very similar result here in After Effects. Now, After Effects is still limited to what you're able to do here. So you still will need to learn other software to get the full potential of what your projects are going to be. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to show you how to get into the 3D space and how to manipulate before we actually create a little project. So what I want to do is always go to my new comp, okay, and we'll leave everything pretty much as is and hit OK. All right. Now in here, we're going to go ahead and create a new solid. Okay, and a solid is just a field of whatever color we want to use. So I'm going to leave it as red for now. Hit OK. Now here is my explanation of what I meant by 2D space. As you can see, I can move the solid up and down, left and right. All right, and that's all I can do. And for most of your projects in After Effects, that's all you really need. Okay, we can simulate something like a 3D effect like we did with some of the effects where you can zoom out, or rather you can scale out or scale in an object and it makes it look like it's coming towards the camera. But that's really just scaling, and it's not really a real 3D effect. Now back down here in our timeline area, where it's highlighted right now, there is a little cube right in here. If you don't see this, you may have to like toggle down here at the bottom so that this changes. But right here, there's a little cube. If we turn that on, okay, what you're gonna see right up here, these get activated, these buttons, okay, and these are your 3D tools in order to move this around, okay. So if I were to click on that, and you can see now I'm changing the position, not really, I'm just actually changing the view of that solid. So now I'm moving it as if I were moving it in a 3D software like Maya. But now I can move this in any direction. So I can use this tool to pan left and right, like this. Okay, and I'll use this tool here. Remember, you can always just hover over those tools to see what they are. Okay, so this one's called the orbit. All right, this one here is called the pan under. Okay, and this one's called the dolly. And the dolly, what that does is that brings it forward and back like that. So forward and back. Okay, these are essentially moving the camera of our After Effects um, composition right now. If you click and hold, you'll see that there's other softwares underneath it. Okay, we are going to mainly use these. This first one does it all the orbiting. You can actually limit to what you want to use here. So if you change it to that one, you can only rotate it in that direction. Now, keep it like that. Let's go back to the top one. I think that one's the easiest one to use. Okay, and notice that whenever you click, it leaves that little cross. See that? And that means that it will pivot from that point. So if I go here, it's going to pivot from that corner, like that. If I go to the other corner, sorry, right there. So it'll pivot from that corner. If I go somewhere in the middle, it'll pivot in the middle. Okay. Now the best way to view this as well is if we create another solid. So create new solid, and let's change the color to something else. Okay. Again, there it is. Okay. And something popped up right here that I'm going to show you in a minute, but let's go to this one and we'll change. Now see, notice it's not changing. Okay. Now why is that? Because we need to turn on the 3D. This is a common mistake that happens with everybody. It happens with me, it happens with novice people, it happens with people who use After Effects every day of their lives like this. We have to always come and check in the timeline that this is turned on, and there it goes. And notice that it will snap immediately to the same angle as the previous. If you use the regular move tool, okay, the selection tool, you'll see that there's this, I can't move the camera, by the way, first off. I can't move that. But if I select the object here, like the green solid, you get this, this tool that shows us that we can manipulate this object. Now, what I'm doing here is actually moving the object in space. Whereas if I go back to these orbit tools, I'm moving the camera. So I'm moving around the camera. If I go back to the selection tool and grab onto that blue arrow, notice it says Z on your cursor. Now I'm moving in depth to the Z depth. Okay, so I'm moving forward and back. All right, so if you need to move the camera, you can always come back here and change it to your preferred angle, like so. If you want to change the rotation of this object, you can click on any of these circular, see these half or quartered circles right here, they fill in once you hover over them, and you can turn it like that, however you want to, and click over here and do the same. Okay, you can turn it however you want. Okay, and so we can move it left and right, we can move it up and down, and we can make any changes we want. Now notice you get the bounding boxes here as well. If you click on them, you can still scale them manually or freehand like this. Or you can go into your layer, press S for scale, and scale it up and down just like how you would do before. Notice that there are three. If you look at any of the previous videos, or if you look at when you first create the solid, you'll only get two. Okay, this is actually giving us three. Okay, and they're scaling all together. The reason that the third one is because we can create the Z depth, the scale in that way. Let's open up the whole layer for the green solid here, and you're going to notice that some things have been added. The position here will move just like normal. Okay, up and down, left and right, and now forward and back. Okay, anchor point is where the pivot is at. Okay, we can change that. We're not gonna mess with that one, but remember that's part of the anchor point tool over here. The scale again is the same. Orientation is its position and rotation like this. But we also get the X, Y, and Z orientations, so you can actually scale it, or I'm sorry, rotate it however you want in those directions. So we have all those really cool options. Now a shortcut to getting to the orbiter tool is to hold down the Alt button on the PC, okay, and with the left mouse button you can click and drag around like this. With the middle mouse button or the scroll, you can press down and you can go up and down, left and right, like that. So you don't have to keep clicking up here to get everything you need. Okay. Now let's go ahead and create a new project. So I'm going to delete everything. And I'm going to go to my bin, and that's the wrong class. I'm going to go to these objects here, which I'll provide for you. I call them Iron Man because I was thinking about how we can really show off this 3D space element of After Effects, and I thought the heads-up display and the Iron Man mask would be something cool to use. So I'm gonna drag or click those three guys in here. So I have 1, 2, and 3. Let's go ahead and make a new comp. Hit OK. All right. And what I want to do is I have these three different things. They're like this little, just kind of like techno uh, visual thing that would be on an Iron Man, or the inside of the Iron Man mask, what Iron Man sees. Every time you see his face, there's always these things floating around. So this could be something that we want to add to that. So I'm going to click the first one here, and let's go ahead. Actually, I'm going to be using Iron Man 2 JPEG, and then I'll bring in the other ones as well. I think I'll layer them however I want to. It doesn't really matter. Right now, you can't see much, okay? They're all flat on top of each other. But let's go ahead and enable the 3D aspect of all of them. And let's take our orbiter and move them around. Right now, everything is very flat, okay? So we have them nothing, and it's not creating any kind of 3D aspect. So let's go to the first one, or rather Iron Man 3, which is like a top layer. We're going to move that forward. Now, go back to our orbiter. We can see that, let me just click out so you can see it better. Now you can see that this one is above. Okay, I can move it again so you can see it. Let's get the Iron Man 1 JPEG and push it back. Now you're going to notice also that they're all in black images, but look right here. Look how cool that is. Okay, where now we're seeing is that we have these three elements floating above each other and creating something that would exist in 3D space. Okay, now we're gonna make this a little bit better by going over to our mode here in our layers and change the blending to screen, and that will remove the black from those images. And we can do it to the bottom one. We don't have to right now because the bottom one is against the black space. And now look at that. It's creating everything we would want in an Iron Man mask or something like that. Now we can animate this. Let's go to our top one, which is, let me move it a little bit better so you can see it right there. Our top one is right here, okay? And we can rotate it however we want to. I would probably want to rotate it flat. So let's go and open up all this. And I believe it would be the Y. No, not the Y. The Z. There, that's the one we want. Okay, so if we wanted to, just go ahead and get your stopwatch. And just to see it move, we'll move it across over here a few times. The higher the degree in the rotations, the more times it's going to rotate. So let me click out and scrub on that timeline so you can see that first element move. There you go. Okay, we can close that. Let's do the second one, same way. Okay, we know it's the Z, and we'll go ahead and hit stopwatch already on the Z. Maybe not there, we'll move it back there. And on the Z, let's go the opposite way. Let's go into the negatives. And so we can see that they work in a different way. And just like that, that's how simple it is. And then once you're done, you can create this as a separate video with a transparent background, or you can save this as a comp, bring it into your another video, which then you can go ahead and make your own Iron Man heads-up display or something similar to this. It could be anything, but that's pretty much it. Practice this, use this as a fun way to create your motion graphics final. It doesn't have to be all flat. It can actually look really cool and poppy when you animate all this. Okay, but one last thing before I go is that we need to understand how to animate the moving camera. Okay, so we can't just right now this is just a tool here just to view it, but it's not being animated. There's nothing in here that will animate. Now I can't animate all these separate layers by themselves, but that becomes complicated. You know, we can always attach them and parent them, but we don't need to do that. What we need to do is go to Layer, New, and we're going to go to Camera. Okay, now this camera here will be the 3D camera that we can animate in order to show off the 3D part of this project. So I'm going to leave everything alone. You can leave the camera, the focal length is just fine. Hit it there. Now here, this guy, when we have this open, now you're going to see the position and those point of interest, okay, being are changing. The numbers are changing there. Okay, so if I turn on the position and maybe move it like that, now we have that movement there. Okay, and you can also come in the middle, change it up like this. You can even use one of your other tools to lower it down, so maybe it swoops in like this. Notice that you maybe want to turn on your point of interest as well. Okay, and then maybe it can move over here. I'm just moving it all around just to see what is the coolest way to present this, or just having a nice little experiment with my animation. Hit your spacebar, everything animates as far as the stuff that are rotating inside, and the camera moves, and then I can go ahead and render this out like normal. But that's it for today. If you have any questions, please email me in Brightspace. Contact me anyway. Don't forget about the office hours. So you can always find me there if you want to talk directly to me live. Please, that is very helpful for me as well to get to know you guys as well, and making sure I can answer all your questions. Okay, and that's all for today. All right, so I'll catch you later.